Okay guys, now I'd like to show you me finishing the elephant picture. We have quite a bit of work ahead of us, but I think we can do this. So, as I mentioned before, the backgrounds on these are too dark and bluish. So I trace over them with a pen. Now I have been tracing them on a window, but my arm was getting really sore. So Timothy lent me his light tablet, which I'll show you in a second. My arm is especially sore today because I got a vaccine yesterday. Put your old picture and your new paper here. Try to use the same marker you used to trace the other ones for the sake of consistency. And then try to keep your paper aligned so that the picture doesn't keep changing sizes. Alright. Now to keep from getting overwhelmed, maybe start with the smaller details and work your way out. It's the hay in the background. I had redrawn this one before, and I colored it in for a while too, but I found out I was accidentally coloring the fence with the wrong color of blue, so it didn't go well with the others. So I ended up throwing that one away. Just a good reminder to be very sure you know that you're using the right colors. It saves you some time. For grass and hay, I like to kind of press and then release, like that. So I'm against the paper and then I go away from the paper, and that's kind of how you make the grass grow up. And that way it gets pointier at the end. It's an easy little trick I learned a long time ago. I say easy because I've been doing it a long time. If it's your first time, it might take a while to get the hang of it, but it's okay. Kind of push against the paper if you can't really see through it. That way you can see the picture behind it a little bit better. I push it with my finger close to the area where I'm drawing. Okay, see, that wasn't too tedious. Just went in chose some sort of order to go in and went around and got them. Alright, what's the second smallest detail? You might think the peas, but I honestly think the fence, you know? There are a few ways you can do this part. You can do it the way I'm doing it right now, which is a little tricky. Straight down I think is better than straight up because you have more control there. But an even better way is side to side, if you're able to swing your whole arm on your elbow. Which I'm not exactly able to do, so I'll give it about my best. In this case with these tiny parts, I think it's easier to go straight down than side to side. Yeah, look at that. Not perfect, but you know, it's a picture. Just go over the random squiggle, and you'll hardly be able to notice once it's colored. Whoops. Start drawing the piano. Getting ahead of myself here. Line. I'll go ahead and draw these peas in front of it now, so I don't get confused between them and the trunk. There's some more bars back here. So I'm gonna make the line go a little bit off of the original picture. That's okay. When you're tracing, sometimes you're gonna have to kind of imagine what else happens when you have some extra space. I'll also blur it out a bit around the edges with my crayon when I color it. Alright, and the bicycle's got several spokes. We'll start with one at a time. There, and I'll just blur it out as I color it with the crayon as well. Alright. If it feels like too long a way to go, I still sometimes play connect the dots a little bit, give myself small destinations, give myself a break, and then maybe another one. If anything looks too weird or out of place, I just go back over it again until the weirdness disappears. You can even play connect the dots with the ones that were hanging out here. You probably wonder how I go around these curves. It's kind of tricky until you know the trick. If you're having trouble getting at a certain angle, it's okay to move your paper. You want a curve, you just kind of rest your wrist on the table, and then you move back far enough and your hand is kind of like a compass. And then you just figure out what it's going to be like, and then you go. Yeah, we're having to play connect the dots today because this table's not big enough for me to do a whole swing with my arm. You don't quite want to touch the line here because I want to show the motion, so I want to give it some space. Here we go. And then same on the other side. some markers here. It's a little bit weird, so I'm going to go over it again. And same compass thing I was talking about on all the curvy areas. The more you do it, the more you get used to it. Look at the rest of this fence. Use each of these bars as a mile marker. That's pretty nice. Use his tail as another one. That's a longer way, so we'll go up to here, take a break, go up to here. Thankfully it's just my left arm that got the shot, but my right arm's getting sore already from drawing. We're almost done with the fence. It'll be about the most tedious part. Notice how I pause as I come to those mile markers. It really helps give you time to get a break, readjust. In general, going down is easier than going up, because gravity comes more naturally than flying for a lot of us. Alright, piano. Okay. Now we're ready to color it. And good news is, I already drew this one and this one. So that was the only one we had left to redraw. Hopefully I won't mess up coloring these. Let's take a break from that elephant and work on this one. So, the mnemonics here are for 94, 95, and 96. 94 is represented by a burr, like a sand burr. 95 is represented by a bell, and 96 is represented by a badge. So the idea here is that the elephant stepped on a burr and it hurt. So it's ringing a bell, but in the process, it's got a badge stuck in its trunk. So it's really raising a ruckus over here. Let's start by coloring the burr. This part's really fun because it's just like doing a coloring book. If you're not sure how a color is going to show up on your paper, it's good to get out another paper to practice on, just to test it. It's good paper. Compared to... Yep. So for the darker shades, I'm going to use a bigger teal crayon than the one that we started with, because that'll really help us get the details and the shadows. We didn't need the details as much on the big picture because it gave you kind of an overview, but now we're doing detailing. I'm gonna light a candle for fun. When you want to do shading, I suggest pressing harder in the places where you want it darker, and you should really do that close to the outline because that's the darkest part of the picture, and then work your way out from there, getting lighter and lighter and lighter. It's called a value scale, but I like to call it dark, lighter, 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 because that's easier to remember. The smaller crayon to get the lighter parts. Just go over the whole thing really gently. We have more space here, so it's okay to scribble. I like to scribble in kind of a circular way, where you go a little bit in circles. And sometimes sometimes a bigger crayon makes a lighter color. I didn't have to test this one because I've used it enough times that I know. Another helpful sequence if you get lost is start on the inside and go towards the outside. Work your way towards the outside, then you won't miss anything. And I'm going to use that method this time because I found I kept going back and working on other parts of the hay over and over last time, and that's not necessary. So make a circle and then make it bigger. It's like a spiral, it keeps going out. Gonna make the darker parts close to the lines. So I guess for the smaller stuff, it's easier to start on the inside and work your way out, and then for the bigger stuff, it's easier to start your way from the outside and work your way in. All right, now for the details. All right. The green part seems to end right about here, around the tail of the elephant, and at the start of the laser. Ooh, let's color that laser real quick. That's from a different mnemonic, but it goes into this picture a little bit, kind of like the bicycle over here. So we're just gonna go ahead and take care of that real quick. There we are. All right, grass time. Make a line, just kind of help us know where to end, because this is where it fades right here. Bigger crayon. All right. I forgot to color the badge. Let's make it yellow. Cool. Oh, and his eye. Let's make it burgundy. The way I'm going to draw the other elephant's eyes. Burgundy. That's also the color of this piano. By the way, here's a fun fact if you don't live in Oklahoma. Earlier this week, they were predicting rain, and we got snow instead. So, that's how we do spring weather in Oklahoma. That about wraps it up for the elephant picture. I hope you had fun and learned a lot. If you enjoyed this series, give it a like and make sure to apply those tricks and techniques I just taught you. See if they work for you. And I will see you next time.